The rain hadn't stopped all morning. It came down in slow, miserable sheets, soaking through jackets, umbrellas, and spirits alike. On Fifth and Elm, the little cafe nestled between a shuttered bookstore and a laundromat buzzed with the low hum of morning commuters, their voices muffled by the hiss of the espresso machine and the occasional clang of metal chairs being dragged across the tiled floor. It was the kind of place where regulars didn't need to say their order out loud, and newcomers felt the weight of unfamiliar eyes watching them as they tried to find their place. Daniel wiped his boots on the mat as he stepped inside, brushing the rain off his shoulders. The heater had given up, which didn't surprise him. He'd fixed enough of them around the city to know when they were on their last leg. He tightened his grip on the strap of his toolbox and stepped in line. Same spot, same time, same faces. The barista, a sharp-eyed, gum-chewing college student named Lacey, gave him a nod of recognition but didn't say anything. He glanced at the menu, though he didn't need to. It was always the same: black coffee, medium, no sugar. His fingers were still cold from the walk over, and he looked forward to the brief warmth the cup would give him. As he waited, he scrolled through his phone, then slipped it back into his pocket. Nothing new. Just the usual missed calls from telemarketers and a few updates from a group chat he barely responded to. Then she walked in. She didn't just walk, though, she drifted. As if her feet moved because they had to, not because she had anywhere she truly wanted to be. She wore a long coat, soaked through at the hem, and boots that had seen better days. Her hair was pulled into a loose bun, but the rain had undone most of it, so strands clung to her cheeks and neck. She didn't make eye contact with anyone as she stepped inside and stood at the back of the line. Daniel noticed how her shoulders were slightly hunched, like she was bracing herself for something. The line moved forward, and she followed, silently, hands clutching a faded leather purse that looked expensive once but had grown tired over time. When she was just ahead of him, she finally lifted her gaze and squinted at the chalkboard menu as if trying to remember how to read it. Coffee. Just regular coffee, she said when it was her turn, her voice soft but steady. Lacey gave a nod and started pouring. That'll be $3.75. The woman dug into her purse. Daniel watched her fingers tremble slightly as she pulled out a wallet. She opened it slowly, as if she already knew what she wouldn't find. There was a receipt, a crumpled photo, and a library card, but no money. She checked a hidden pocket, then another. Then she just stood there, lips slightly parted, blinking hard at the register like she could will it to disappear. Just give me a second, she murmured, turning her purse upside down and letting the contents spill onto the counter. A lipstick tube rolled to the edge. A single key, a half-used tissue, a faded business card. No cash, no card, no coins. Behind her, someone sighed. The barista raised an eyebrow, unimpressed. Daniel stepped forward, sliding a $5 bill across the counter. Put hers on mine. The woman turned sharply, startled. No, you don't have to do that. I know, he said with a small smile. But I want to. She hesitated, then nodded, almost ashamed. Thank you. Daniel collected his coffee, but as he turned to leave, he paused. Something about her kept tugging at the edges of his attention. It wasn't just that she seemed lost. It was the kind of sadness that didn't come from one bad day, but from a series of them. From loss, or betrayal, or both. He looked back and saw her sitting at the far end of the cafe, near the window. She cradled the cup like it was the last warm thing in the world. She didn't even drink it at first, just held it. Daniel stood by the door a moment longer. Then, before he could talk himself out of it, he walked over and asked, "Mind if I sit?" She looked up, surprised. For a second, she seemed like she might say no. But then she motioned to the chair across from her. Sure. Daniel sat down and set his coffee on the table. You okay? She gave a little laugh, dry and tired. You don't even know me. True. But I've had enough days where everything goes wrong. And you look like you're having one of those. Her eyes fell to her cup again. She ran her fingers along the rim and stayed quiet for a long beat. Then, As if the words had been locked in her throat and just needed a reason to escape, she said, "I used to own coffee shops." Daniel blinked. "Wait, what?" She nodded, still not meeting his gaze. 15 locations across the city. Roast and Rise, ever heard of it? His eyes widened. Of course. That place downtown with the loft-style seating. I love their vanilla cold brew. She smiled, a little sadly. Yeah, that was mine. I built it from nothing. Worked double shifts, pulled favors, took out risky loans. I was 28 when I opened the first one. What happened? She inhaled slowly, like she'd been asked that question 1,000 times but never had an easy answer. A lot of things. My business partner, my fiancé, ran off with most of our savings. We were supposed to get married. Instead, he emptied our joint accounts the day before the wedding and disappeared. I had to sell everything to pay off debts. I even had to sell the house my father left me. And just like that, it was all gone. Daniel didn't say anything. He just listened. And in that silence, she found the space to continue. I didn't know who I was without it. My name was on magazine covers. The young queen of caffeine. I gave TED Talks. People used to ask for my autograph at airports. But when the money disappeared, so did the friends. The applause. The admiration. All gone. She sipped her coffee finally, and winced. "This is terrible," she said with a small chuckle. "Yeah," Daniel agreed. "But it's warm." She smiled again. This time it reached her eyes. "I'm Daniel," he said after a pause. She looked at him for a long moment. Then said, "Marissa." "Well, Marissa, it's nice to meet you. Even if you are the fallen coffee queen of New York." She laughed softly, the sound a little rusty but real. "Don't remind me." They talked for a while. Nothing heavy after that. Just little things. Favorite music. How rainy days always made you feel more nostalgic. Why people in big cities pretended not to see each other. Daniel told her about his job, fixing things, sometimes in places no one wanted to go. He liked it, he said. Liked knowing he could take something broken and make it whole again. Marissa grew quiet at that. Then said, "Wish I could do that with my life." "You can," he said simply. "It just takes time. And coffee." "Terrible coffee," she corrected. He grinned. "Hey, you get what you pay for." As the rain slowed and morning gave way to afternoon, Marissa checked the time. "I should go." "Where to?" She shrugged. "Not sure yet. I'm between places. Staying with a friend for now. Looking for, I don't know. A reset." Daniel stood as she did. "Well, if you ever need someone to talk to, or a hand fixing anything, I'm usually around." He scribbled his number on a napkin and handed it to her. She looked down at it, then back up at him. "Thank you, Daniel, for the coffee. And the kindness." He watched her walk out, this time with her head just a little higher, shoulders a little straighter. The rain had stopped completely. A thin ray of sunlight broke through the clouds and stretched across the sidewalk. Daniel didn't know her story completely. He didn't know how far she'd fallen, or how much it hurt to lose everything she'd built. But he knew this: sometimes, the simplest gesture, a cup of coffee, a quiet place to sit, someone who doesn't ask for anything in return, could be the first brick in rebuilding a life. And Marissa, she was about to discover that not every good thing disappears. Some of them walk in when you least expect it, with a toolbox in one hand and just enough hope in the other. He never imagined that the woman he paid coffee for would one day change his life, too. But some stories start like that. Quietly. With a stranger. And a cup of terrible coffee. Marissa walked out of the coffee shop and into the drizzle, her coat heavy with rain, but her chest lighter than it had been in months. The air tasted different, as if the city had exhaled along with her. She didn't look back at the cafe, though she wanted to. She wanted to see if Daniel was still sitting there, sipping his lukewarm coffee, smiling faintly in the way only people without judgment could. But she kept walking, not because she wanted to leave it behind, but because she was afraid of what it meant to feel safe, even briefly. She returned to her temporary place, a cramped studio apartment she shared with Lila, a friend from her business school days who'd stayed in touch through the rise and the collapse. Lila had taken her in when she had nowhere else to go, never asked questions about what really happened, and never made her feel like a burden, though Marissa could see it in her eyes sometimes. She curled up on the mattress she slept on every night, the scent of industrial detergent from the laundromat below rising through the vents. Her hands gripped Daniel's napkin with his number scrawled in sharp pen strokes, worn at the edges now from being folded and unfolded too many times. She didn't call him the next day. Or the one after that. She told herself it was because she didn't want to seem desperate, or needy, or like she was trying to find some man to rescue her. But the truth was, she was scared. Scared of talking to someone who saw her without the armor she'd worn for so long. Scared of being seen as a real person instead of the CEO she used to be. 3 days passed before she gave in. It was raining again. She was staring at the cracked ceiling when she picked up the phone and dialed the number. It rang twice. Hello. She hesitated. It's Marissa. From the coffee shop. There was a pause. Then his voice, softer now. Hey, I was wondering if you'd call. I almost didn't. Why not? Because I don't like needing people. He chuckled. Well, it's a good thing I'm not a need. Just a guy with a toolbox and a bad taste in coffee. That made her laugh. The first real laugh she'd had in a long time. Do you want to meet? Same place? She asked. Same place. I'll be there in 30. This time, she got there first. She paid for the coffee, both cups, and waited. When he walked in, rain in his hair and a smile on his face, she felt the tightness in her chest ease. You beat me, he said, accepting the cup. Thought I'd surprise you. I like